Good morning and welcome to another edition of From the Desk of Dan White. Welcome to 2025. Here we are in the new year. And I thought it'd be appropriate if we just kind of reviewed where we ended the end of last year. It was a great year for the markets. A lot of green. You see a lot of green. The Dow Jones was up almost 13%. The S&P 500 was up 23%. And the NASDAQ, which included the Magnificent Seven, all the tech stocks, that was up almost 28%, a little over 28%. So a lot of green. Everybody should feel good about their 401k statements and because they should have had a very positive year. But also notice that both the 30-year and the 10-year Treasury yields rose about 18%. It was interesting. The Fed started cutting rates, and the minute they started cutting rates, long-term yields started popping. The yield curve is normalizing, but it feels a little different right now. And we're beginning to see the hints of a bond market concerned about $2 trillion deficits and a $36 trillion national debt on its way to $60 trillion unless something changes soon. At the current rate, total U.S. debt will be over $50 trillion by the end of the decade. Interest on the debt will be the largest line item in our budget, larger than Social Security, Medicare, and certainly defense. It will be approaching the actual level of income taxes that we pay, just the interest on the debt. So this, and then you add state and local debt to the federal debt, and you will find that total government debt to GDP ratio is not just 122%, but closer to 133%. Is it any wonder bond buyers might want a little bit more interest for taking that risk? How long do you think they'll be satisfied with 4.5%? So that's what happened last year. And it's funny, in December, the Fed did cut rates by another 25 basis points, but they kind of acknowledged at that time that, they might not cut 4 times next year. They might only cut 2 times. And that did not go well. I mean, the benchmark S&P 500 sold off. It was down 3%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ was down almost 4%, and the Russell 2000 index lost almost 5% when the Fed made that announcement. So that was not good. And yet, inflation, even with the Fed cutting rates, inflation remains sticky. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported inflation is still going up. It rose 2.7 year over year in November, up from 2.6 in October. So inflation is not going away. And the Buffett indicator flashes red. Warren Buffett's favorite valuation metric compares the value of the broad stock market to gross domestic product. When the metric is above 100%, it suggests that stocks are overvalued relative to the economy. For the U.S., that ratio just hit a new high of 205%. Meaning the total value of U.S. markets are more than twice GDP, well above the dot-com bubble peak and the 120% 20-year average. So no wonder Buffett is hoarding cash. I mean, all the things he looks at, they're very overvalued. And when a small number of stocks accounts for almost all of the market's gains, most of the time, the performance of a stock market index roughly reflects the average performance of the stocks in the index. So over the long term, around half the stocks in the S&P 500 index have outperformed the index on an annual basis, and half have, wait for it, underperformed. So half over, half under. But in 2024, just 32% of the stocks of the S&P 500 have outperformed the index, meaning 68% have done worse than the 29% as of this writing of the S&P 500. That kind of lopsided performance has happened only a few times in the past, in 2023, in 1998, 1999, just before the dot-com bust. So market breadth is a sign of a healthy rally, which is kind of the opposite of what we see today. So even though we had a great year, and this is back-to-back years where we had 20-plus gains, it might be closer to the end of the party than the beginning. And the Fed rate cut odds plunged. Friday, we had a jobs report. It was a very strong jobs report. U.S. payrolls grew 65% more in December than 155,000 increase Wall Street economists had forecasted, which reduced the odds of the Fed cutting rates. So it's a classic, good news in the economy. The job market's strong, but it's bad news for the Fed, meaning they're not going to cut rates, and the market usually likes easy money. So that's kind of our market update. I think we're going to see volatility moving forward in 2025. We didn't have the Santa Claus rally at the end of the year, and this year is starting off a little bit negative, so we'll see where it goes. We also want to mention Google reviews for Middletown, Glen Mills, and Lewis. We have a lot for Glen Mills now. I think we're over 100. And we have several for Middletown. We only have one for Lewis. So if you're down in Lewis, you have a Gmail account, and you want to give Michael a shout out, or down in Glen Mills with Dan and Andrew, please go on your Gmail accounts and give us a Google review. We also want to remind you about referrals. We are putting a real push on referrals this year. We got probably close to 15-20% of our business last year from referrals, so we're going to focus on that. And if you give us a referral, keep in mind you're going to be automatically qualified for our exclusive referral events. The first is going to be our ladies' afternoon tea in March. So if you want to bring somebody to a seminar, we have a robust webinar schedule planned and seminar for 2025. If you'd like to bring somebody to a seminar, that gets you on the list to come to a referral event. And also, if you are a member of any type of community or professional organization that you belong to, maybe a lodge, a fitness facility, a church, a workplace group, and you're looking for a speaker for a monthly meeting, we'd be happy to come out and talk about whatever topic you think would be interesting to your clientele. All right, moving on. Construction update. We are finishing up our second floor renovation here at Glen Mills. We're just working on the finishing touches. We expect to be moving, at least some of the advisors down here, myself included, up to the second floor. And we're about to begin the first floor update. So please keep in mind our office will remain open during the renovation. We apologize for any dust or things like that, but we are renovating here in Glen Mills. Other things to note, we're back in the snowy season. Please keep a lookout to our Facebook page for updates on office closures. If the weather's bad, we may or may not make it in. We'll still be answering the phones, but just keep an eye on that as well. And tax season is fast approaching. It's time to start thinking about filing your taxes. You start to be getting financial documents in the mail. Fair market value letters on all your IRA accounts will go out the end of January. And then you have tax document deadlines. You'll be getting 1099s, January, February. Please allow time for these documents to arrive. If you're worried about it, you can call client services. If they do not arrive by the deadline the institutions have, we will hunt them down for you. And keep in mind, you can still make an IRA contribution for 2024. It depends on overall income and so forth. But you have until tax filing day to get those contributions in. And keep in mind, for 2024, it was $7,000. Was the IRA limit. Unless you were 50 or over, you had a $1,000 catch-up provision. So you could put $8,000 into a traditional IRA or a Roth. And if you're not sure whether it's deductible or whether you can qualify for a Roth based on income limits, please give the office a call. And finally, to wrap up this week's video, congratulations and best wishes to our client service specialist, Siobhan. She's getting married in Mexico this week. So she's probably already down in sunny Mexico, getting ready for the big day. And please, let's everyone remember President Carter. I find it interesting. Presidents generally become more popular after they leave office, but President Carter was quite the humanitarian. So let's all remember Jimmy Carter this week as well. So I want to welcome everybody to 2025. We're excited. We had a great year in 2024. We're really excited about 2025. And we're just going to be kicking off our seminars this week. So again, if you have a referral, somebody you want to introduce us to, please give the office a call and bring them out to our next seminar presentation. So I hope everybody has a great week, and welcome to 2025.